Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this podcast, which we don't really have a name of yet, but here we are. We're kind of discovering. Let us know if in the comments if you have a name for this podcast. We'd love to hear it, for sure. We don't really have a concrete name right now. It's just the Snipe Life podcast. We've been bouncing around some ideas, such as through the lens of Christianity, or I was thinking the lens, or I was thinking through the looking glass, but a lot of that has too much connotation for other things. I don't know. So you guys let us know, what would you like to see this podcast be named? Are you okay with the Snipe Life podcast? Do you want to hear something else? What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, we don't like it.
Okay, that's great. You don't like the podcast at all. You just want to
right. We're just here because you feed us every once in a while.
Gotcha. That makes sense, actually.
The Snipe/Parker podcast.
How about Snipe Site?
Yeah. Okay.
We should never ask.
Leave your comments below.
Yeah, well, this podcast has been interesting so far. We've talked about a lot of topics. One thing that I don't think that we've talked about in detail has been the effects of social media on the world, what social media has done over the last 20 years, and what it maybe looks like in the future, metaverse, all that stuff. I think it's interesting to kind of dive into that stuff. So
I have no clue what the metaverse is.
And that's totally fine. We'll figure it out as we go through. But I just want to kind of hear your thoughts. Let's start at the very beginning of what we experienced as social media. So what was your very first experience in social media?
Someone else go first. I have to think.
My first experience. My first experience was MySpace. So we used to have your top favorite, your 8 favorite people, and then if you got off the list, you were out of the friend circle.
Yeah, you had like top 8, top 10, and you had Tom as your friend. Now you guys, did you ever experience MySpace?
No, we were on like the very end, I think.
Yeah, I remember MySpace because my cousin, I remember being at my cousin's house and trying to hang out with him, and he was like, "No, get away from me, you're annoying. I got to check my MySpace." And but that's the only thing that I can remember from MySpace. But I think the beginning of for me was Facebook, anyways.
How old were you in 2006?
6 or 7.
Okay, cool. So then that's it's during the end of my middle school years, beginning of my high school years. I remember hearing about MySpace.
2006.
Well,
I graduated in 2006. So.
MySpace, I think, was a thing from the very early 2000s, 2002, 2003, somewhere in there. But essentially, it came from the Napster, Friendster era of Mark Zuckerberg building these apps and doing different things. And so Mark Zuckerberg builds this app that not Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg isn't MySpace, but that's where Facebook came from later on. But MySpace was kind of the precursor, where it's very similar, but it's way more customizable, right? So imagine your Facebook page, but you could code in specific songs or a specific theme to your background, or you could organize your page almost like building a website the way that you wanted to. And so it taught a lot of people how to code in a way where you would have to code certain parts of it, and or you copy and paste
basic
code that someone else has made.
HTML.
Right.
Yeah.
But these were some of the first social medias, right? And I remember being a part of MySpace for a long time in middle school and very beginning of high school. And this was I remember it being a huge deal, especially in youth group and stuff. It became this thing where it was all of our youth leaders were you need to delete your MySpace, and you can't be spending so much time on it. You can't do all this stuff, because we would spend it was our life. We'd spend a lot of time on it and organizing it or decorating it or.
That's how you did community.
Right.
I feel like that's every youth leader ever known. Delete your social media. It's bad. You
Sure.
don't need social media.
Yeah. So let's dive into that a little bit, but so from MySpace kind of died. I remember hearing about Facebook, and it was Facebook was really interesting because you needed at first a college account to sign up.
A .edu.
You couldn't have you couldn't have a normal email just to sign up to Facebook. Gmail. You needed to be in college. It was very specific when it first started. And so for us, I remember wanting to figure out how I could get in, and it was this really exciting thing. And eventually they opened it up to everybody. I remember when that happened, all my friends like freaked out because they were like, oh, we get to use Facebook now. It's amazing. This is so cool, blah, blah, blah. And so the millennial generation was really the ones that pioneered that Facebook kind of, thing. And now it's changed a lot, right? Now we have like, I'm trying to set the scene here so that we can talk about the web in stages, right? So we kind of have like Web 1, which is how people refer to it now, which is like Google. It's like standard websites. It's how people roam the internet, right? Web 2 is more like social media, right? And this is like what we're in now. It's the TikTok, it's the Instagram, it's Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. And where we're going next is Web 3, which we're going to talk about later, and we'll kind of dive into that because I think it's really, really interesting, especially from a Christian perspective, to think about what that looks like in the metaverse and all that stuff. NFTs, we'll discuss what those are. But where did you start with Facebook, and why, like, did it become a big part of your life? What was social media like for you growing up?
I think for me, I was never, the only computer that we had was in my parents' office. I wasn't allowed to be in there on the computer by myself unless I was like playing Webkins or something like that. Like
Club Penguin.
I wasn't allowed to. Like, there was obviously blockers. Like, my parents were very strict on, you don't go in there and get on the computer if we're not here. We see everything that you're doing on there anyways, so.
Yeah.
So, like, I had Facebook, but I was like, oh, I could get one, and I just had to lie about how old I am. And I don't know how old you have to be, but I'm not putting how old I actually am because then I can't get it. But I think that was it for me. Just, my parents were super strict on when I was allowed to be on the computer and what I was allowed to do on there. So.
Right. What about you?
Yeah, I was an outside kid, so like computers and stuff like that really wasn't my gig. But I do remember getting a Facebook and it being like kind of like we were talking about, where it was just kind of like that craze. I don't know if it's just because of something new or what, but my parents were always pretty strict of, like, all right, time to go outside now. Like, you've had enough computer time,
Your
now,
dad's also like a Marine and stuff.
Yeah. He wakes me up at 5 a.m. to do push-ups. No, but, very, very structured. Made sure I had plenty of time outside. And I really enjoyed playing outside a lot more than I did, being on the computer. And it's probably a good thing because, you get in trouble and all that stuff. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the start of it anyways. So
what catapulted you guys into more of social media? Like, as you grew up, I'm sure in high school and beginning college, all that stuff, you kind of got into it more. I know that you did, for the most part. Like, I feel like you were on Instagram a lot, and like you kind of got into that world. So from being a non-computer person and not in that world a lot, like, was it just the peer pressure of people that kind of bring you in, or what kind of happened there?
I think it was some FOMO. Everybody hopping on. And then I think it also was like something else to fill your free time other than going outside or something like that. So that's where a lot of it started. Because I remember going up, like, probably late middle school, early high school to my grandpa's, and just being so bored because he has no internet service up there at all. At least did back then when I was in middle school and high school. Like, nothing. Like, literally the only thing to do there was to ride your bike down the road and build ramps with rocks and stuff. Like, true out in the middle of boonies. Like, have couldn't even ride a bike to the store because it's too far.
Right.
And but I think a lot of it was, all my friends were doing it. And not only that, but you kind of start talking to people and they're like, oh, did you see what so-and-so posted? And so you kind of like, oh, I didn't see that. So then you get on it. And I think it was more of like to keep tabs on everybody all at the same time. Yeah,
it became like an extra community sort of square.
Right. Or like, I need to let everybody know how I'm doing or what I'm doing, kind of a thing. So
it was the outside of school. Yeah, you saw them at school every day, but you didn't ask how their night was last night.
Right.
I don't know.
You saw them post about it.
Right. For me, it was Vine, though.
Oh, yeah,
that was, I guess, my first, like, social media.
Really?
Was legal.
That's interesting.
I didn't lie about how old I was. But, like, because all my friends had it because...
I married a baddie.
All my friends had it, so I was like, well, I could get it because it's on I can get it on my phone, and then my parents won't know how much time I'm spending on it. So that was my first social media, probably.
Yeah, I remember jumping in and like MySpace was really big for me. I loved organizing my page and decorating my page, and I would write blog posts and stuff, and like try to be as creative as possible.
I thought you were too young for MySpace.
No. and that was a big part of it, I feel like. I remember like sitting at a friend's house and like just writing out, like spending like 3 hours writing out this blog post that was like the most creative thing I've ever done in my life, right? And just like getting ready to share it with people and post it on my page and so people could look at it and stuff. Facebook definitely was less creative, I feel like. Like you just, you know, told people about your day, and so I always get these memories of like super cringe things, you know, of like when I was really young, right, where I'm like, hey guys, I did this. You know, it's like, please shut up. Like, delete. But I also love looking back at some of those stuff to see how naive I actually was, you know, and kind of like walking through that time. It's really interesting to see that again. But yeah, Facebook, I really never, like, I think that's the point where social media that I kind of like dropped off. So like Twitter was a big thing that popped up at that time, and like I didn't ever like really get into Twitter. And then Instagram came up, and I went to a super hipster Christian college, and so it was like I didn't want to be a part of that because I didn't want to be like those people. And so everybody's like, Instagram. I'm like, what is Instagram? Like, and then I intentionally just didn't get on board because I was like, it's not my thing. It's not what I want to do. When in reality, I think I would have liked it a lot if I did get into it.
It was more creative than Facebook even. So.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, for sure. But yeah, but we go from these big social medias like Facebook and MySpace to these smaller ones like TikTok and Instagram, which are large platforms, but it's different content, right? And this is like really the birth of content creators in general too, because YouTube is growing also alongside of everything. But YouTube was kind of like this really, like, when did YouTube really get on your radar? Because for me, it wasn't until probably I was in college and I understood, like, because I always knew that YouTube was a place where you could go learn stuff or you could go like find stuff. Like I saw it as a search engine. I saw it as like a fun like videos, you know, website basically. But not until I was in college was I like, wait, this is like a real thing. This is like going to take over. Like there's no more TV. This is going to be TV, you know? And I didn't really realize that till later. So what kind of steps did you take in your social media journey? Like how did Vine kind of come up in that? And did you create on Vine? Did you do stuff on Vine, or was it just like a social media app that you used to consume?
I was mostly just a consumer. I've really never been a creator. Like I never put, not even creator, just I didn't put stuff out there. Like I don't think I posted a picture on my Instagram until like a year after I had it. Like I was just keeping my tabs on everybody, just being in the loop, I guess. And then, but I really don't think I ever actually posted anything on Vine, but I was just there, just looking. And then
who were some of your favorite creators back then?
Just whoever popped up. Like I'm really weird. Like I think we follow like 50 people on like the Parker Point TikTok now, and like we just can't, I don't know. I don't have like my certain people.
Is that where your love for the evil David Dobrik started?
That was a little bit later on, but I did like him a lot. But I don't know, but I felt like I look at YouTube differently because I just looked at it as a place where you can watch music videos or listen to music. Like I usually still don't, like, the only people I watch on YouTube is you guys. But like I don't go on YouTube just to watch videos. I have very short attention span, so if it's not like less than 2 minutes, I'm probably not watching it.
That's where TikTok comes in.
Yeah, I think there's this change that happened, right? We go from like Web 1 to like Web 1.5 with kind of MySpace and Facebook, and then Web 2 is like all of these apps that just exploded. I mean, there's like thousands of them now where, you know, people will just kind of test out these apps, and if it catches on, it like blows up, and if it doesn't, then it just dies, right? Like this Be Real app that I think I told you guys about the other day.
It's funny because after you told us about that, I saw like 4 people post on their Instagram about it, and I was like, why? I feel like I would have sold these before, but now that I know about it, I'm like, okay.
Right, and now the FOMO starts to kick in, and then you want to be a part
I
of
looked
it.
it up that night after I saw 4 people posting on it. I was like, what is this?
So there's this new app that basically you have 2 minutes to post every single day, and all of your posts of your friends and everybody that you know goes out all at the same time. And so you have 2 minutes to post something, so you don't have a lot of time to like curate like this beautiful picture. It's just like what you're doing in the day. And so it takes a picture of the back of your phone, so whatever you're pointing at, and then the front of your phone, what you're doing, right? And so a lot of people are just like in their cars or like at the grocery store or like, just random places, like hanging out with their friends, whatever. But the whole point of the app is to like be real, right? Mm-hmm. To have this like moment of like just authenticity on the internet, right? Which is interesting. But I think we're fighting more towards that because the Instagram age, the Vine age, and the TikTok age, like everything is so curated and manicured and made up, and it's like so clean and tidy that I think a lot of people are craving more authenticity, which is why I think some of your TikToks and stuff have done really well because a lot of the authenticity that comes in there, I think people see that, and I think that's why partially we've done very well on YouTube because people see the authenticity that we bring out, and we're not pretending to be someone that we're not, we're just kind of sharing who we are.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what do you guys think about social and all of that? What are your thoughts overall on social?
I got rid of all my social media.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about that, but just for everybody else that's listening to the podcast and watching, I got to the point where I couldn't handle it. It just got to the point where it's funny because now JC jumps me back into it sometimes. Like she'll be like when all the Roe v. Wade stuff was coming up, and when just political stuff, because I used to be really engaged in that, and I would argue with people all the time on Facebook and Instagram, and like half the time Jason would be looking at me, and I'm just like writing
why
more than I wrote on my FSA, than I wrote on my FSA testing at school, writing a whole essay. I'm about to wreck this guy. He doesn't even know. Yeah. I'm like, no. He doesn't even know what's coming for him right now. And it got to the point where it's kind of like, if I see some of these people in public, which some of them were friends, I was like, I probably am not going to talk to them. Right, and I didn't really want to get to that point. So when I started getting to that point, I was kind of like, it's probably time for me to shut her down and just hop out of it completely because there's no good to it. I mean, there are some good things to it, but for me, my life is so much better not being so engaged in social media. Yeah. Social media platforms as like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, things like that. YouTube is where I spend. YouTube is almost like an educational thing for you a lot of times. All the time. Yeah. I have YouTube videos running almost all day in my headphones at work. Whether it's, content creators that I like, stuff that I'm learning. Say I'm going to do something, I'll look up, like sometimes whenever you guys shoot out stuff before small group, like, hey, we're talking about 1 Peter, I'll go watch 10 or 12 videos from people like Blvd Bokum and John MacArthur and Sproul and different people like that before I come to group or, and read the passage and different things like that. But YouTube is huge for me. I probably watch 15 to 20 YouTube videos a day, and they're all, long ones. Yeah. All the YouTube videos that I like are 15 to 30 minutes. Yeah. Most of the time because I'm not sitting there watching it, I'm listening to it. So it's like I'm doing something, so I think that passes more time. Yeah.
I do that too, but if I'm like 3 minutes in, I'm like, yep, nope, changing this one. Don't like it.
That's so funny to me. I think everybody consumes social media differently. Yeah. And I think everybody that's watching this or listening to it is the same. Like they're like some people right now are probably washing their dishes and listening to this. Mm-hmm. Some people are sitting at their computer and they want to watch and they want to see what's going on. Some people have already left the video by now, right? Like there's a lot of different people. Jerks. and that's just the way that it is. Like growing on social media for the last 2 years has been really a huge learning experience for us. And I think, wow, we have a lot of people in our lives that are like, you know, social media is horrible, the internet's horrible, get rid of phones, everybody should just throw away technology. But then we also have some people in our lives that see the benefit of it. And I think we've begun to see a lot of the benefit of it as well. And so I think there's a time and a place for it all, right? Yeah. And I think there's an area where it's too much and it's hurtful and harmful. And there's an area where it can be very useful, especially for ministry and for the kingdom, right? And so in our content, like, we really try not to put out anything that's not valuable, right? Like, we want to put out valuable things. And so, yes, we're talking about the chosen. Yes, we're talking about, like, these different things, but we always want to have a message in it as well. Like, for example, I just did a live stream last night just doing behind the scenes updates, right? But there was a moment that we got to stop and just talk about marriage and how important marriage really is, right? And we did a whole podcast on this. Like, it's important to us, right? Mm-hmm. And so how important marriage is to me, like, I wanted to stop and talk about that because there's going to be a scene in season 3 of The Chosen where there's going to be a whole section, actually, of Simon and Eden. And there's going to be some parts of their marriage that's, like, really good, and then there's going to be some parts where it's, like, really hard, and they're struggling with each other. And so I love that The Chosen is doing that, kind of showing the dichotomy of that. And so, like, that's a perfect example of, like, what you can do with media, or what you can do with social media or online content creation and all of that stuff. And I think sometimes we lose sight of that because we see the Logan Pauls and we see we see all these crazy people who are doing crazy stuff, you know?
Yeah. I'm off Facebook because Facebook's annoying to me.
Well, to be clear, like, a lot of people would say Facebook is for older people now, right? Where
so aren't you on?
Okay.
The majority of millennials and especially Gen Z. Gen Z's not on Facebook at all. Right, but the majority of millennials.
I feel like I've been seeing more Gen Z. Yeah. But they're like, they complain. They want to keep up with, like, especially college Gen Z, right?
Sure.
Right.
They want to keep up with some of their.
They want to keep
friends and family, right?
Because you're not really keeping up with them. You're just seeing what's the highlights of their life for the last year.
Well, they're, like, in the middle ground, right? Like, Bryce is, like, right at the edge of Gen Z, right? Where, like, him and JC are, like, right at the top end of Gen Z. Probably one of the oldest Gen Z. So you still have millennial tendencies in some ways, and then you have Gen Z tendencies in some ways.
Younger millennials.
No, they're in Gen Z, for sure. Yeah, I'm a young millennial. So, when
did millennial end?
I don't know.
Everybody has different years that they kind of operate through. It's hard because it depends on who you grew up with too. Like, Vanessa is in between Gen X and millennial because her siblings are all 10 years older than her, right? So they're firmly in Gen X, and she grew up with them, so she has a lot of Gen X tendencies, right? Which is why she's so, like, independent and kind of hard-headed, right? Gen X is very much that way. But millennial is more like tech it's more like tech forward, which is why she has that as well, right? So, like, she's in the middle of the generations for sure. But
I was gonna say more stuff.
Go ahead. Go.
Anyway, so, like, I'm not. Yeah, I can't stand Facebook. I think that's why you got on your tangent of explaining things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I suck at posting on Instagram. Like, for our job, right, for YouTube, and even for when I was, like, doing web development, like, with a business, you have to be good at socials. But we both kind of suck at it. Like,
because I don't post normally. Like, I post, like, once or twice a year.
I don't think we don't think of taking pictures of ourselves.
Right.
Like, it's usually not until someone else is taking pictures that I'm like, oh, we should probably take pictures too.
Yeah.
So, for me, I do think that social media can be toxic because it becomes this
God.
A god. Wow. But I was good, like, the highlight reel, right? And that's why things like Be Real is coming out, because it's a more authentic version, right? So.
Yeah, there's a starvation for that authenticity.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but like you said, I think we can use it for good if we have the right intentions. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can. And I think that a lot of people have to come to the conclusion of, like, there is so much power in social media. And I think especially YouTube right now, YouTube is the place where I would send everybody. Like, you guys know, like, I try to encourage everybody, like, you need to make a YouTube channel. Yeah. Every person that we talk to, pretty much everybody that I think is at least a little bit capable of doing it, I encourage them to do it, because I think not only could it be a business that could help you to grow your family and monetarily help you, right? Like, we don't make a ton of money from YouTube, but like we've made like enough money to where I'm like, okay, well, this was a good business that we did for the last year, you know? And so like I encourage everybody, because the ministry aspect for me is like so powerful, because I did the math, and me being in ministry full time for almost 10 years, right? I've reached probably 200 to 300,000 people. But me being in YouTube for a year, right, and being successful for a year, we've reached over 1 million people.
It's crazy.
So yeah, like it's nuts. And yes, I don't have relationships with all those people, but I don't have relationships with the 300,000 people either, right, in ministry. And online ministry, I get to have way deeper conversations because people feel more vulnerable. They feel like it's different. Like, it's just a different type of ministry, and there's pros and cons to both. Yeah. And so I'd like to dive into that for a little bit. Like, what do you see the pros and cons of doing ministry or reaching people or running a business even online? And what do you think is better in person, and what do you think is better online?
I think one of the major things, the cons that I see now is the reality expectation of kind of what we see. Like we've even seen it like within our marriage where like JC's been like, why aren't you like this? And I'm like, she's like talking about some, picture perfect couple off of Instagram that looks like they never.
Not real.
Yeah. That looks like they never fight, and they have 3 beautiful little blonde kids, and they, they're always behaving, and different things like that. And she's like, "Why can't we be like them?" And I'm like,
"We don't even have kids."
That's not what I meant, but like, why can't we have this like perfect, picture frame life, and I see that a lot especially with like nowadays people getting married. They're like, oh, I'm so excited to get married. Right. It's going to be, roses and daisies and everything's going to be fine. And then they get in their first fight and they're like, ah! Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, are we going to get a divorce? Like, this is not what I signed up for, blah, blah, blah. This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, yeah. Absolutely, it's the hardest thing you've ever done in your life.
Right. I feel like people don't know what marriage is supposed to be, though. So, it just goes back to the last podcast we did, where people don't know what marriage is supposed to be. So
exactly, and that I think that goes with everything, right? Like, it could be like, oh, they're doing a house tour. Why doesn't my house look like that? They're doing, they just got this new car. Why don't I have that car? Like, they have this huge group of friends, like the Dobrik crew, right? Like why the vlog squad?
Right? Yeah, that's so interesting because like you see, like we can pick on David Dobrik. Because, like, if you look at him, like, in his videos, and then you see, like, the other people filming their videos, he's 2 totally different people. Yeah. And I think that, again, it comes with the authenticity thing of, like, during his videos, he's very hyped, always laughing. Absolutely. Very giggly. Yeah. Always, like, literally every 5 seconds, there's a joke going on. Mm-hmm. And then you see a video of him or, like, someone else like filming, like doing an Instagram story or something, and they come up to him, he's like sitting on his phone, like almost looks depressed sitting on his couch. Like, it's just totally different. And I think that, obviously there's some kind of switch that goes on in a lot of people on social media. Yeah. So
I feel like there has to be.
Yeah, but
people don't want to watch you if you're like this.
Yeah. Everything has, of course. Well, I mean, not even that, but like Instagram. Like, why would I ever post a bad picture of me on Instagram? Probably not.
I have.
Right? If it is, it's very few, right? Like, it's not like every post you like have your phone in your face and you like have a picture of you up your nose or something. Yeah. Check this out, guys. Yeah. But like, it's all has to be picture perfect, and I think people have tried to live up to that standard, and it's epic failed because you can't live up to a picture perfect standard, and it ends up like making people like depressed because it's like, oh, why can't I be like these people? I see it all the time.
Yeah. So cons are comparison. It's taking up of your time, right? Priority, especially in the Christian world, right? Like, we talk about this all the time. Mm-hmm. Are you spending more time on social media or reading your Bible or spending time with God, right? Something that I struggle with too, right? Yeah. And so, like, we always fight this battle of social media, but it's also a perception too, right? So like for us as people, like I'm in traditional ministry, right? So like for me being a pastor and having like a YouTube channel and doing ministry online, people take me being a pastor way more seriously than they do the million plus people that we've reached online, right? Which is crazy to me because
Wait, what? Say that again?
people take me being a pastor, like, you know, like meeting people and like worshiping, leading worship and stuff way more seriously than they do our YouTube channel.
Oh, okay.
Than they do the people that I've reached, right? Through that.
Right.
And so like it's crazy to me that people don't put value on that as well. Because I think like the good side of things is like there have been several people in our channel, and even if it was just a one, it would still be worth it to us. But there have been like dozens of people now that have reached out to us and said, hey, you have impacted my life in this way. And some of them in like major ways where it's like really? Like our content did that for you? Like it helped you understand something, or like you know, we have some like really close people in our family now, right? That like walk alongside of us and have ownership in our channel. And we've even met some people that like, because of our channel, because of some other channels, like they've gone back to church and they've gotten plugged in, and like they've stopped watching our channel as much because they're involved in church now. Like, you know, like that kind of stuff to me is like, this is what I want to do ministry for. And a lot of times in ministry, I haven't seen a lot of those outcomes, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I can't deny that there is something here. There's something special here that a stranger could impact you in a way that would bring you closer to God, and in a way that would maybe be more impactful, at least at first, than traditional ministry, right? Yeah. Where I think that online ministry really hurts is the long tail of it, right? Like I can't like walk alongside a million people. I can't befriend a million people, right? I can impact a large number of people, which is what our goal is. That's really what our goal is. But I can't be in a discipleship group or a small group with that many people, right? It's just impossible. I don't have the time. It's impossible. So that for me is like kind of the big pro and con of online ministry and social is the barrier of not getting too close in these parasocial relationships that kind of come up. Where it's like people think they're your best friend, but they've never actually met you. And so that can be dangerous, I think. But there's also something special that God is doing in it too.
Yeah. There's several things I was going to say, but then I forgot. And then I wrote one down, and now I can't remember what I was thinking. But it's like, okay, so the community aspect is what I wrote down is that's the hard part, I feel like, of internet ministry, right? Or online ministry. But at the same time, it is possible, right? Like when we have the closer friends, the people that reach out to you, that obviously it's a little bit more surface level, I think, right? Like, but I remembered one thing, like that even in churches, the authenticity is missing, and I feel like that's why community in IRL church, right? I think that's why it doesn't work all the time.
Yeah, IRL means in real life, by the way.
I was going to say it.
Lost.
So, like, people go to church and they try to act a certain way and be a certain way. So, like, the authenticity is missing even in real church, right? Yeah. But I feel like you said, I don't know why some people are more wanting to be vulnerable with people maybe that they don't know, and so maybe they feel like they're going to be judgeless, so that's why people open up to
I think that's a huge part of it. And especially coming from our ministry, I think that like something that we've made very clear on our channel, right? It's like, this is like we are loving, right? Even if someone were to come in and say something completely opposite of what we believe and what we know to be true, we're still loving to that person, correcting, yes, right? But I think that we're still loving in that, right? And I think that's been really, really important, because our community, like, they'll wrap around someone. Like, the other day, someone came in and they said that they had been abused. And, like, that's heavy, you know? Like, that's heavy stuff. I don't know really how to deal with that. But automatically, I saw our community come around and be like, hey, I love you. I'm praying for you. Like, hey, like, so sorry this happened to you.
Why can't church be that way?
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're accessing these people who, like, we would never have met ever, right, if we didn't start this ministry. And God has made a way for this to happen for this time, for this specific reason.
That is real church. Like, you know? Like
in a way, but there's a piece missing too, I would say.
Right. Yeah, the getting to know people, like, that's what I love about I'm of the belief that you should always have your local church, because that is your body, that is your support system. Like, they are supposed to be there for you.
Yeah. If we're getting in a fight, I'm not going to go to Sandy Frankenstein or or Timothy, right? Like, they're not the people that I'm going to run to. I'm going to run to Bryce, right? I'm going to run to Dave and Brian, like those people that are in my life that really are walking alongside me. Yeah.
Yeah. There's pros and cons to both.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The accountability aspect of it as well. Like, you can tell somebody something online, but I can also hit you in the head if you come up and say something dumb to me.
Right.
Like, if you need to get hit in the head, like, we just went through a whole series on how important the church is to be a part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I can't remember if that was the whole series or if that was just one part of the series, but I've always heard, nowhere in the Bible does it say that you have to go to church to be a Christian.
Right.
And they use that as like a little, they say that as a little scapegoat to not have the tough aspect of church.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think so many people think church should just be love and nothing but love, which, yes, that's true, but love comes in discipline as well. Very few people think that nowadays. They think, like, we have churches here in the area that are completely, blatantly going against what the Bible says, very clearly, black and white. Like, it's in the book, on paper, written down in English. That is the language that we speak, and for some reason you skipped over that part. But I totally think that those types of churches are maybe built up from the people who were kind of like that, who were kind of like distant, but then they were like, because these churches are hard. They'll tell me what I'm doing wrong. They'll call me out. They'll have accountability on that aspect, and I don't want that. So we're going to move over here to somewhere else where we're all inviting, all inclusive, all of those things. And that's just not what church is supposed to be.
Right.
The Bible is very, very clear about that. So,
yeah, it's interesting. What you're talking about, I remember Derek, one of the people that kind of runs one of the prayer ministries at our church, saying one morning that, yes, the Bible doesn't say anywhere that you need to go to church, but it also doesn't say that you need to talk to your spouse or live in the same house as your spouse, right? Like, there's no mandate that needs to happen. And if you don't talk to your spouse and if you don't live in the same house as your spouse, obviously you're not going to have a great relationship, right? And so, like, that is heavy, And I think a lot of people that are in ministry or casually kind of going to church, especially in America. I know that we have a lot of people that watch outside of America, but especially in America, it's so flippant. Like, it's such, it's such like this, like, in and out, I'll kind of come when I want to sort of feeling. It's optional, absolutely. Yeah. And while online ministry is even more so in a lot of ways, right? At least for us in our YouTube channel, like, we've seen a lot of people that have really clung to it, and not that we're a church, right? But the ministry itself has really grown and become a family because of that, become a community because of that. And I can't wait to see what it's like in the next 10 years, to see what happens with it and and what God does with it, It's really going to be amazing to see. But social media in general now, how do you see it affecting not just you, but the people around you? How do you see social media kind of affecting things in the youth, in your family, just in the people around you? How has it been affecting?
I think for me, I think it affects me more than I know it does. But more recently, like, I have deep-rooted, like, insecurities. And then being on social media and, like, every second, like, that's how we run our business, is pretty much on social media all the time.
Yeah.
So being on social media all the time, it is like, oh, why don't I look like her? Next. Oh, why don't I have that car? Next. Oh, why don't I make that much money? Next. Like, just all of these things. And, like, it's hard to not do that. But I feel like even when I'm not doing that, I feel like I'm still putting on a front, or I'm still making sure that every second of this TikTok that I post is perfect.
Yeah.
And like, it's so hard for me because I have these insecurities, and I don't want people to come for me if I say I don't want their dog at their wedding. Like, I don't want people to get mad at me because I have conflict avoidance problems too.
Yeah.
So, like, it's just like those kinds of things where I'm like, oh, someone's gonna comment on this and say, because people are mean. Like,
People
Yeah.
are
I don't
mean.
know, like, your hair's weird, or you need your eyebrows done, or like something like that, or maybe you should get better makeup. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, people are mean and they just don't care, and I've seen it happen, and I'm like, why? First of all, why would you say that to other people?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then, second, I don't want them to say that to me.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure everything is just this much more perfect every single time, and it's so bad. Like, I don't know. And it's just been more recently that I'm like, ugh. Like, I didn't know that this was, like, this far down where, like, it's just now coming out, and it's like, I don't even want to make another TikTok because I can't even stand to look at myself on my phone. Like, it's crazy.
It's so funny to me that now your most successful TikToks are those that show you failing, those that highlight other people, right? And it's like, it's so interesting to me that is the case.
Yeah.
You know, that people are really like they're thirsting for that authenticity, and being like, oh, like her whole thing just like blew up in her face, and she's got to fix it. Like, that's interesting to me. You know, like
it's failure. Like,
Right.
what? I've spent so much time doing all these other perfect TikToks, and then the one where it literally took me one try to walk outside from my house to my car and open the car door.
Yep.
Goes viral. Like,
Yep.
I hate social media.
So let's talk about that for a little bit. Unless you have a point, I want to jump into you guys.
No, I think the only thing that I had was just the social awkwardness of like the younger generation. Like, they're scared to talk to people, which is
They don't know how.
nuts to me. Like, just blows my mind. Like, I'm not gonna say who it is, but someone was like, go get me that McDonald's. Can you go get me a sweet and sour sauce? You know, we were sitting in McDonald's. I was like, no, go get it yourself. And they're like, I can't go talk to that lady. She's going to ask, why would I be asking for a sauce? I'm like, because you got chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
That's why you're asking for a sauce. She's not going to look at you like you're weird. Like, just go up and ask her. No, I can't do it. I guess I'll just eat my nuggets without sauce. It's like, what? What in the world is going on? But that's all I had to say.
I feel like it's not even, like, to that. Like, they don't even want to talk to their friends. Like, not even strangers. Like, they don't want to talk to their friends or their parents or their brothers. Like,
they'll be sitting there, like, texting each other.
Like,
they're sitting like this, and they're sending each other TikTok videos. Like, oh, look at that. That's funny.
I feel like that's another reason why mental health is so, like, everyone has mental health issues now because people don't know how to talk to people.
Yeah. Relationship is definitely lacking in a lot of ways, and I think that's where the thirst for authenticity comes in. It's like, when we have real conversations like this, like, it's filling, you know? Like, we've really had a deep conversation about something, and it's like not surface level. It's not this thing that's just like, you know, we talked about this thing and it was fun. Like, we really grew from it, you know? And without that growth in relationships and stuff, I feel like you're missing such a huge piece of what needs to be done. And I definitely see it in our youth as well. Like, our youth are like, it's rough sometimes. Like, you know, they think that they're just safe online and they can like post whatever they want, but like, we know their accounts, you know, like, we know where they're at. Like, we're not stupid. Like, we grew up in this, you know, like, we know about accounts, we know about second accounts, we know about hidden accounts, fake accounts, you know, like we know about all that stuff, and like, we see it. And like, a lot of these platforms are not
sneaky.
Like,
Sorry.
right. A lot of these platforms are not like privated platforms where you're just hiding all this stuff. Like, we see it, you know? And like, you're sitting in youth group and you're saying, oh, man, why won't God use me or bless me in this way? And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like,
let's pull up your spam account.
Right.
I'm like I said earlier, though, I'm also the person that doesn't follow a lot of people, but I do be checking up. So, like, I may not follow you, but I'll go on your page 4 times in a month and see what you're up to.
Yeah.
But I
And,
don't
like,
follow you, so you don't even know if I see it
If
or
I
not.
took their phone, hooked it up to the projector,
Oh, yeah.
and was like, let me just scroll through your
No.
TikTok for 2 minutes.
No.
Let's see what's on there, you know?
Yeah. They never come
Spicy.
back to you.
Yeah. But so let's talk about TikTok for a little bit, because TikTok is something that I'm on. Like, it's hard for me, and I think it comes back to the point of like it's reinforcing these really short attention spans. It's kind of reinforcing a lot of these bad things, because a lot of the bad things are the things that go viral.
Yep.
And then people repeat those bad things, and it kind of just repeats the cycle over and over again. And so it's difficult for me, but I understand the good that it could do and the people that it could reach as well. Like the Chosen's on TikTok, there's a reason for that, because they want to reach the younger generation. Right. This is where the younger generation lives, and so they need to be there. We're on TikTok as well, and while we haven't had like massive success there, I think that we'll still continue to test it and experiment and see what's going on. But our main focus right now has been YouTube. But for you guys, your business, Parker Point, your main focus for social media has been TikTok, and you've been doing it for quite a while, but you've seen some differences recently, right? Yeah. So what has been your journey like through TikTok? Like why did you start it? How did you start out? And like, where are you now thinking about content creation and all that stuff?
So as I said before, I'm usually just a consumer. Like, I never created videos, and then I don't know who told me to start TikTok, but I used to do it for...
Probably Brandon.
I used to do it for a retail job that I worked at, and they had so many followers, but they also had online websites where they could order clothes, and it was just a thing where you could, I'll try this shirt on, and then you can see how it looks on me, and then you can order it for yourself. So it was like, it was bringing in, like, buyers. But for us, it's like, unless you live in Florida or want to pay us a lot of money to come to wherever you live for us to do your event or wedding, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like it's like you want to reach as many people as you can to have your business blow up, because that's amazing and that's cool, and you want everyone to know about Parker Point, but in reality, it's going to be the 500 people that live in Lakeland.
But that's not true, because we had someone from Louisiana, wasn't it, that called us and was like, hey, I want you to do my wedding, my destination wedding in Florida. We had someone.
I think they're from Indiana, weren't they?
I don't remember. Yeah.
I can't remember where they're from, but that was cool, because it was like, oh.
Yeah.
I remember her saying, I was like, man, maybe making these videos all day is actually going to pay off. But
so what has been your lowest point and what has been your highest point as you've gone kind of through? Because I know you've done a lot of videos, and some of them have gotten 3 views and some of them have gotten a lot of views. And so what has been that journey for you as you've kind of gone through?
Yeah. I was actually thinking about this today. Someone commented I just posted a video about a girl that she wants to be an event planner full time, but she doesn't want to, like, she still wants to have her weekends. And I was like, just saying, I say go for it. But then someone else commented, and they were like, I'm just starting out, like, do you have advice, tips, and stuff like that? And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, what advice would I give them?
Yeah.
And don't stop posting. Don't delete your TikToks, because my little imperfection or perfect little self was like, oh my God, 20 views, I'm deleting it.
Yeah.
And then I delete it, and then when you go to repost it, TikTok's not going to push it out because it's reposted and it's not original from whatever. Yeah. But so it would be like, don't stop posting. I'm not even kidding. I would be so happy if we got 20 views. Like, I'd be like, this is so awesome. We got 20 views.
She would. She would literally wake me up. She would wake me up from my sleep. Babe, we got 10 likes and 20 views on this TikTok.
Yeah.
We're going to Vegas. You know?
We're
blowing up.
But like I would say, like, that was our lowest of low, because it's like, I'm trying so hard to make these stupid little videos that I don't even know if people are gonna watch.
Right.
And then, or like, and any of that, and then I kept posting them, and I kept posting them, I kept posting them, and then it was like, this is pointless. Like, why am I doing this? And then all of a sudden I post a video, and then it just blows up, and then we gain 600 followers in less than a week. so crazy.
Yeah, your goal for this year was what? To get to how many followers originally?
1,000.
I thought it was like 100, right?
Or
200.
Our goal was, we wanted to get to 100 like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, our goal could be like, we could do like 400.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was either like 350 or 400. But
yeah.
I have a post scheduled to post on Monday that says how many followers we've gained, but we gained 38 followers yesterday. So I have to go back and fix it now because...
Yeah, it's never going to be accurate after you post it anyway. But yeah, I think that has been one of the craziest things for us. Like, you know, short form content for me, which is going to take over. And I know it's a big thing that we have to get good at. Short form content is like anything less than a minute, right? So it's vertical content, which means like this is widescreen, this is like long ways, like a TV, but much of the content in the future is going to be vertical, where it's like you're looking at your phone. And so for us, like, we've tested out a little bit of it, and some of them have, like, this last one that we did was like, well, not the last one, it was like 2 months ago we posted one, and it went crazy, right? And we gained basically over 1,000 subscribers just from that one video. And so for us, like, yeah, it was really, really nuts, but I also don't think that we're going to see them as regular viewers either. Yeah. And so while it's like a healthy thing, and while it's like a great thing, I don't think it's a healthy thing on YouTube at least. But for like TikTok, I think you guys have been doing such a great job. And I think one of the big things that we talked about a lot was your method of doing things. And so originally you're kind of posting a lot of different things. You're posting party content. You're posting what you're doing. You're posting like a bunch of random different things, like a haul that you got from like buying supplies, right? Which I all think could work. But for you, I think you needed to really narrow down and figure out what you wanted to talk about and how you wanted to talk about it. And I feel like in the last couple of months is really when it's kicked in for you, and you're like, okay, I get it now. This is what people want to see. This is the value that I can bring. So what has that been like for you as you kind of figure that out?
Me humbly saying, everyone that says, oh, you need to nail down a niche, and I'm like, nah, you don't need to do that. Like, you don't need a niche. Just do whatever you want, and me getting 5 views. But, like, once I finally, like, nailed down what I wanted to talk about, what we do, what we want to tell people, just advice in general, and what our personal experience is, like, that was when it started to take off. When I was using the same hashtags of bride-to-be, wedding planner, wedding tips, wedding advice, or whatever it is, like, that was when it finally started to take off. And it'd be like, oh, we got 2 followers today. And, like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I was throwing a party when we got 2 followers. It was crazy. And then now, every time I open up my TikTok, I'm like, we have 38 followers? Wait, I just refreshed it like 20 minutes ago. It's terrible. But I'm like, wait, we have 28 new followers? This is so crazy. And it just keeps going up. But this is where my insecurities keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, because I'm like, now over 100,000 people have seen one of our videos. And then over 100,000 people have seen another one of our videos. And now I'm like, like, I didn't post any today because I'm like, I didn't make any because I don't want to. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think you're going to struggle with this a lot. And I think, like, because I'm coming from a place of, like, I could care less what people think. Like, there's been people on our videos that, like, have, like, hated us, and, like, they hate everything we're doing. Even on the short that we did, right? This short that blew up, half of the comments are, Jesus is black. He's not white. Jesus is black. They're, like, yelling at us, like, as if we made this show, right? As if we cast Jonathan Rumi.
As if you're not black.
Which he's part Egyptian. Like, he has the bloodline. Like, you know? Like, it's not like he's, like, some random white guy that they just picked off the street. Like, he actually has Middle Eastern roots, right? Which is where he gets his accent from. It's from his family. And so, like, it's so crazy to me how people kind of react to things like this. And a lot of people on that video specifically are not our audience. And so, like, but we could care less in a lot of ways.
There's a lot of mean people out there. Like how you were saying, like, it's that vulnerability thing that we were talking about that can be good, right? Like, but that's also the evil side of it, right? Like, where people think that they don't need a filter. They could say whatever they want because they don't know you, right? And they think, like, even, like, people that are just judgmental or mean or comment on mean things, like, why would you say that? Would you want someone saying that to you?
Exactly.
Ban.
Report.
I'll show you our list at some point. We have a list of, like, probably 25, 30 people who have just like they've gone way too far. And while we accept criticism on our channel, we won't accept someone just outright attacking us or someone else.
Yeah.
And so they'll just be gone from the channel, and they'll never be able to post again, right? And so for us, I think you're gonna have a battle because you're gonna fight on both sides. You're gonna fight the side of like, oh, I don't want to be in the spotlight too much, and then you're gonna fight the side of why am I not good enough, right? And so you're gonna have to really help her, I think, through this and like really work on how you guys work through social media together, right? And like, because I think you're the type of person that's like, you don't care as much. Like, you'll get excited if something cool is happening, but like you won't let it affect you as much. And so you're going to really have to work with her and like build her up and be like, babe, it's okay. Like, you know, who cares about 10 views on a video? Like, it's all good. Like, the next one will hit or it won't, and God will still be good no matter what. You know, that's what we lean on for sure.
I feel like this just happened. Like, literally, was it last night or 2 nights ago?
It did.
I don't know. But, like, Bryce actually got excited, like, literally every time I open up my TikTok. I'm like, look, we got 10 followers. And look, we got 10 views. Like, every time. He's like, yeah, that's awesome. And, but then, like, I actually was like, this is crazy. Like, like, this is crazy, the amount of people that are seeing this right now. Like, it's like 1,000 per second. Like, this is crazy. And he's like, not actually 1,000 per second, but
it's a lot, though. Yeah.
And he's like, wow, like, that's actually crazy. Like, that's actually cool. And it, like, was like, huh, like, someone I actually care about said that was cool, that my videos are popping off, like, this is cool.
But even if I say they're cool, unless they have 100,000 views, you don't believe me cool. anyways.
Yeah, but, like, that's what I'm saying.
I could say that's the most amazing video ever, and you're like, well, then why did it get 10 views?
Why did it have 15 likes?
And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I don't care. That's like, I did YouTube for a long time.
Right.
And I didn't stop because I wasn't getting views. I just stopped because my life got too busy.
Right.
Like, I just like posting YouTube videos. Yeah. And shameless plug.
Which might have a comeback soon.
Right. Starting my YouTube channel back up. I already filmed 2 videos.
my nagging has come to fruition.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, in my video, I FaceTime Brandon. I'm like, guys, this is who forced me to start my YouTube channel back up. But yeah, it's definitely cool when stuff like that happens. It's because it's been so long, like, she's been posting on TikTok for like a year.
Right.
And I'm like you've been telling us, like, just keep posting. And I'm like, okay, something's got to change because like TikTok's not paying our bills right now, and you're spending all day on TikTok posting videos. I'm not sure
TikTok will ever pay your bills, but
right. Well, I'm saying, like, any social media, like, we've got to start figuring out how to make some money and not just sitting around posting videos all day. But then, like, that lady from another state contacted JC and was like, hey, I'm having a wedding. I really want you to do my wedding. And, you know, and then we get views, and then, you know, the more views we get, the more, you know, things we can look at, and, hey, brand deals or different things like that. I definitely think that there's a there's a plug for Parker Point for social media for sure. But it's like, after you post for a year and nothing really comes to fruition, I guess.
Right.
It's kind of like, oh gosh, like, how much longer do we got to do
Trust
this?
me, we know exactly how you feel. I think for us, you know, we've talked about this a lot on our channel, but, you know, we started the Snipe Life. Right now we're at 11,000 subscribers, which is nuts, right? It's crazy to me. But after a year of trying, right, we've been doing this for a little over 2 years, so about 2 years and 3 or 4 months. But in our first year, we had under 100 subscribers for almost the entire year, right? So, like, we were sitting at 90 subscribers, and we'd get 1 subscriber and freak out. We were like, yes, like, we're so close, right? And we'd be so excited. But
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. But I think within content creation, like, you've really figured it out recently, where it's like, okay, this is what I need to do. This is how I give value. And we found the same thing, right? Because we were trying to do so many different things, and me and Vanessa are very different thinkers in the way that we do things and the way we want to, like, you know, go forward in this. And I'm spending, you know, like, dozens of hours a week like, trying to study YouTube and figure this thing out. And so, like, we're going through this whole thing, and it's like, when The Chosen hit season 2, it was like everything aligned for us. Like, it was like everything that we wanted to talk about, you know, Christianity, creativity, cinematography, like, scripture, like, everything kind of wrapped up into this one ball for us. which is why we've stuck with The Chosen today, because everything kind of works through that. And we can talk about The Chosen, but it also allows us to dig deeper into these other subjects. And so for us, like if we had started doing that back when we started our YouTube channel, we would be a ton bigger than we are now, you know, and a ton more successful, and we'd have way more income and blah, 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 blah. But God had a plan for us too, to learn that way, you know, and I think for you guys too. But now that you've, you know, begun this journey, I think it might be better for you to do this now. And when you do eventually start a Parker Point YouTube channel, like you'll know exactly what you need to do, because you just recreate those videos, but in long form, and tell the stories in a better way that you know will impact your audience, you know? And so it's really cool to see as you guys grow. And this, I think, is like the great side of it too, is like your business can grow because of social media, you know? Your ministry can grow because of social media. And all of these things kind of like, even in that, God will be in control, you know? And I think sometimes we forget that too. Like, he's in control of all of it there, and he'll teach us the right things we need to do in it as long as we listen to him. Because God is a God of social media too, you know?
I actually had, just story real fast, I had someone that...
Sorry, we don't have enough time. This is a short video.
No,
so.
This is fun. This is fun. You'll think this is interesting.
You shut your mouth.
I had someone that actually came up to me and was like, you need to post, like, trending stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great if the trending stuff wasn't raunchy and disgusting and says the bad word every other word. Like, that'd be great, and I'd love to do that, but I can't. Like, I don't want to. Why would I want to do that? I don't want to put my name out there for my business and all that when it's like this. And they were like, well, you won't do anything. Like, you'll stay at 10 followers, and you basically saying you won't make it if it's sink or swim at that point if you don't post the trending stuff.
Which I
if you're not
extremely
slutty,
disagree with.
I mean, they're just saying, like, if you're not posting, like, the songs that are trending on your videos, or if you're not doing the dances that are
sexual
on your, I don't know, just pretty much, If you're not doing the nasty worldly things, then you won't make it. And it's not part of me is like, I mean, obviously, I still don't post TikToks that have bad words in them or are, like, nasty. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But it's like, I don't know. Like, it's like, okay, well, I don't have 10 followers anymore. I have a lot more than that. But I'm not going to fall into that just to gain more followers. Like,
you're not gonna compromise.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me, too, like, even the way that social media is ordered, it seems like there's almost like a moral code that goes along with it in a lot of ways, where like people trust you more if you follow that, right? And like I think about it this way, because I know a lot of people when they're first starting their YouTube channel, they'll send it out to all their friends. They're trying to get everybody to watch it. They're trying to do everything they can to push it out themselves. But the truth is, if you don't do that, like, if you don't push it out to everybody, if you don't try to get all your friends to watch it, and you just let YouTube do its thing, you're going to be way more successful. Because YouTube will just, like, it'll allow the algorithm to pick the audience that needs to watch it. Right? And so, like, I showed you the other day, like, there's people that are running into our videos now that we know, that didn't even know we had a channel, didn't know that we did content, because, like, I don't go around, like, yelling at everybody, like, hey, I have a YouTube channel, look at my YouTube channel, like I did back when I had 90 subscribers, right? Because when I had 90 subscribers, I was like, everybody subscribe so I can get to 100, right? Like,
we would post it on our socials. I feel like we've stopped doing that because we've realized that that's not necessarily
it's detrimental.
The audience
Because you're trying to control the AI that is trying to do something different, so you're working in opposite directions. And so, like, I see people do that all the time now, and I'm like, you need to stop. Like you know, we have friends that have started a YouTube channel recently, and like that's one of the things that's like, dude, you need to stop. Like, like don't go around and like tell everybody and like try to post it on all these things. And you know, a lot of people on YouTube, especially when they're first getting started, they'll do like sub for sub or like you know, view for view or whatever, like all these different things. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. Like, YouTube knows if you're the wrong audience for this video, and it'll just like, it'll crush it and destroy it. And so like learning that algorithm, I think, has been huge for us. And you know, we're in a course right now with Daryl Eves, kind of going through all that, and it's been like really mind blowing to kind of see where our channel could go. And understanding our channel a lot more has been, I think, a really big benefit through just the first couple weeks of this. But yeah, were you gonna say something?
No.
I thought you had something to say, so I was like trying to shut up.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's Web 2, right? So Web 1 is the internet. Web 2 is social, YouTube, all that kind of stuff, content creation. What we're going into now is Web 2.5 and Web 3. And so this is like a really interesting topic that I've kind of dove into more recently. But do you guys know what NFTs are at all?
I just hear you guys talk about them all the time.
We don't talk about them all the time, but so I want to jump into this because I think this is really interesting, and I think it's something that not a lot of people understand at all. And so an NFT it's what's called a non-fungible token. Now, fungible, that word means it cannot be recreated. So like this is a fungible cup, right? Like I can create another one of these cups, right? And it'll be the exact same thing. It's a copy of it. It's a remakeable thing. Even like a US dollar is fungible. You can recreate it over and over and over again. A non-fungible token is a digital asset that can't be recreated. So right now, a lot of people are using them in the form of art. And so you've seen like these Bored Apes or different NFT art projects like CryptoPunks. I know this is like sounding like crazy, but
Yeah.
they're like little JPEGs basically that you can sell that are connected to the same thing that Bitcoin is connected to. It's called the blockchain. And so the blockchain is this digital area where you have a direct serial number to this exact piece of digital art, right? So in the future, I think this is going to be important because, and I'll get past the art part of it because I think a lot of people get stuck on that. But in the future, I think it's going to be important because like things like your airplane ticket, things like your coffee discount card, right? Things like a bulletin for church. I think all of these things eventually are going to be NFTs that you own. Okay. And so like an airplane ticket or like a coffee discount card, it's almost going to be like a QR code that's on your phone. But everything is going to be connected to this like crypto blockchain, right? Does that make sense?
Sure.
So, so this is important because things like our YouTube videos could eventually become NFTs. And a lot of people are actually doing this now where they will sell their YouTube videos or a library of that they've created in the past to a collector. So let's say someone is really interested in the snipe life in 10 years or whatever, if we've grown a lot or whatever, they can purchase our very first video on our YouTube channel for a large amount of money, right? And they can say that they own our first YouTube video and they'll have an NFT to prove ownership of that, right? So then they could sell it to someone else. Now, a really cool piece of this is because ownership is proven through the blockchain and it's all digital, like super secure in a lot of ways. There's these things that are called smart contracts that go along with it. And I promise I'll shut up after this. It's really interesting though. There's things that are called smart contracts that go along with it. So let's say, Bryce, you have a picture of the first boar that you ever killed, right? But then you go on to become a famous hunter, right? Now that first picture that you ever had of you killing a boar is really expensive at this point because you have a lot of people that are interested in what you're doing. Right. So you sell that picture as an NFT, as a digital picture, right? And so someone owns that picture, but you put on there a smart contract that says any time that it's sold in the future, you get 10% of that sale price. So now you sold it for, let's say $100,000, right? Then someone else sells it because it's gone up in value because you've become even more famous, right? Someone else sells it for $1 million. You just profited another $100,000 because of that sale. And then someone else sells it again for another profit and you get another percentage of that in perpetuity forever, right? Wow. So one of the really cool things that I've been thinking about this last week is what if you could invest in early on creators? Or what if you could invest in early on artists, right? Let's say I'm an investor later on in my life. I don't have a ton of money right now, but let's say later on in life, I see this kid who's going to be an amazing YouTuber, right? Or an amazing whatever, artist or racer or whatever, right? And I give him money to get started because I believe in what he's doing, right? So I give him $10,000, $20,000, but then the smart contract added to that NFT of me paying him is connected a percentage of his income for the rest of his career. Does that make sense? Yeah. So this is like super high level. Yeah. So like I find this kid that's in high school and I'm like, you're going to be the best artist in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years. So I'm going to give you $20,000. You give me 1% of your earnings for your lifetime. Right. And he could take it and he could totally flop and I don't get anything out of it, right? Or he can take it and become this super huge rock star that I think he's going to be, and then I get 1% of his income in perpetuity. Imagine having 1% of Drake's income or Michael Jordan's income, right? So like this is like a large area of where a lot of these things are kind of going. But anyway, this is Web 3. So Web 3 is like the metaverse, NFTs, a lot of these digital projects that people right now are like, Bryce, where they're like, I'm not quite so sure about this. But I think this is going to be huge in the future. And I wanted to have this on the podcast because I want to look back at this in like 10 years and be like, man, we were all so stupid about that. Like,
well, seeing as how I sent my first email like 8 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't see myself investing in NFTs anytime soon.
Okay, but it kind of sounds smart. Like,
yeah.
So my first YouTube video is up for sale for anyone.
No, like think about what he just said though. Like if someone would have like invested in Drake or Justin Bieber or somebody,
exactly,
like just like a kid, like just a kid. Imagine how much money they can make if they had ownership of Justin Bieber's first YouTube video.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Sure. Smart. But
They would never have to work ever again in their lifetime.
Yeah. You would have to be really good at what you do or really good at equipping that person for sure. But
I'd rather win the lotto.
I'm saying, like, I don't know. I'm a tech, right? Like, I'm a web developer, and I know that this stuff is important, and I know that I'm doing the thing that you said. The stupid plant keeps scaring me. Sorry. It feels like slavery to me, you know?
It's not
like what?
slavery.
Like look, so for real, like you're owning people. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't sit right. And I know maybe in 5 or 10 years I'll be like, you're an idiot. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I'm because I know technology, because I know how programming works, because I know all this stuff. I'm very careful about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Because people are evil. Right? And you can program anything to be evil.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I get the limitations on blockchain and all that, but like at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like what, like I own that percent of that person. Well, and
they had the option to sign up for it too.
But we're also like only betting on them if they get famous. So now we're putting fame on a pedestal.
Well, of course, that's what the world does. Yeah, it's just an example. I think that there's going to be a lot. I don't think that we understand the technology enough for us to have a full understanding. Because I think even in ministry, even in the Christian world, I think this is something that we're going to need to dive into. And that brings me to like the metaverse, right? Yeah, which is like it's also like AR, VR, XR, which is like augmented. AR is augmented reality, not the gun. AR is augmented reality, which is like if I put on a pair of glasses and I get like an overlay on the world, right? So it shows me like what the weather is or how far away that wall is or what temperature Bryce's forehead is, right? So like I can see if people are sick or not, right? Like that's augmented reality where like we're going to get more information about the world in front of us. Then there's virtual reality, which we have pretty readily available nowadays, right? With the Oculus Quest 2 and all that stuff. Or the Meta Quest 2, right? Well, Meta bought out Oculus,
Metaverse. Wait, what?
Yeah, exactly. But virtual reality it's like a lot of gaming right now, but eventually it could be used for different things, right? Depending on how good it gets. It could be used for physical therapy. It could be used for different healing things.
If it's VR, how can you do physical therapy?
Well, I think you could easily do physical therapy in VR for sure. Like eventually they're going to have gloves that allow you to have resistance on your hands, right? So physical therapy could look like someone who like broke their hands, right? It could be like they're going to have a pair of gloves that has resistance so that when you're in VR and you grab a cup like this, right, you feel like you're actually grabbing a cup, right? Because it's going to have resistance. So if someone like broke their hands and they need physical therapy, that glove could help them to move their hands in the proper way that they need to, right? I could 100% see that. And then XR is kind of like a mix of both, right? So like even churches are doing this now where like they have technology from LED walls and stuff like that, where when they move their cameras, the LED wall kind of like moves with it, so it looks like they're in a virtual environment, right? Same thing like the Mandalorian has. When they're filming for the Mandalorian, it's the same thing. But let's just stick to the metaverse right now, because the whole idea of the metaverse is that humans will eventually live in this digital space. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's a possibility? You think this is like stupid? It's like not even close? What do you guys think? Because I'm probably in the middle here.
I feel like it's totally possible. Like, with how big social media is, like, and I mean, we've seen the growth in social media just in the last 5 years. Like,
Right.
5 years ago, people didn't even know TikTok was a thing.
Right.
So we've
Vine.
seen the growth. Yeah, like, you know that there's robots at Chili's delivering your food. Like,
Yeah.
you know
That's
the
true.
capacity of this. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's totally a possibility that could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be you, but what do you think?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even when I was in welding school, they were talking about, hey, like, yes, learn how to weld, but you guys really need to learn how to run a, like, fully automated welding machine. Like, that's, so I worked for a company called Robinson Fans, and we built fans, big exhaust fans for companies, you know, all kinds of, I would be here for 30 minutes talking about it if I wanted to explain it, but just like the motor bases for them, the fans themselves, welding different metals onto them to make them more resistant to abrasive materials and things like that. And so we were a custom fan builder, and then there was another custom fan builder up in Pennsylvania, I believe is where it was, where the headquarters for that company was. And they were moving to not having welders, but like welder, I guess you could say welder operators or something like that, where everything was automated and it was almost like a CNC machine, and it was all programmed, and you just set it in there and you just made sure that it was welding what it was supposed to be welding. You didn't get dirty. You were sitting in the air conditioning. Like it was crazy. And, you know, everybody was like, oh man, whatever, it's not going to come to that. But I also, there's so many things that have come up over the last 5 years that was like, oh, that's not going to come to that. Like I had somebody tell me you should invest in DEF fluid, diesel exhaust fluid, because that's the way the world's going to go. And we were all like, dude, no way. And now literally you can't buy a diesel machine that doesn't have DEF on it.
Wow.
And like 5-10 years ago, it was like this mythical thing that was like through the bushes and in the fog, and like you guys should invest in this. It's almost like Bitcoin now, like
but I feel like for every one of those there's like 100 that are like total flops.
For sure. There's definitely the aspect of like you have to be careful. You can't just be like, oh man, this is awesome. Like you know, even social media, like that's why there's thousands of different social media sites, because it's like which one's gonna hit and be big next. And, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's going to buy it.
Right. Most likely.
But, I definitely see that moving. Like, the lawn side of things, like, people are getting robots to mow their yard now instead of people.
You're going to go out with a remote control and just press a button, sit in your truck.
They actually have them now, so instead of people mowing the sides of the hills on, like, the Parkway and interstates and stuff, they actually have robots that you drive, so that way you're a lot less likely to fall down the hill and roll down the hill. And those machines, they're, like, making buku money.
Yeah, of course.
And literally you just sit there. You could sit there in your truck and drive it around. Like, it is crazy to see where it's going. I definitely think I'm gonna get left in the dust on it, but
well, I think there's a long tail to physical places and physical workers and all that stuff. Like, I think that's still going to be important, and I don't think that everybody is going to like just live in the metaverse all the time. I think it'll be for specific things. I could see people going into work and like maybe like activating a Neuralink. I think that's going to be a thing where Elon Musk is working on this chip that goes in your brain, right? I think that is definitely.
I'm not down for that. But
I'm just not down for it, you know, like, because people are evil and these are man-made things. This isn't God doing.
Of course.
Like,
I'm not saying all these things are good either. I'm not saying NFTs are good or the metaverse is good necessarily. I just think it's something that's coming up in our lives, and maybe Christ comes back before all this is done, you know, and maybe that happens.
Middle of
but,
it all happening.
but
But how cool would
Who
it be to
knows?
slide like a little chip inside your head that it made you speak Spanish all of a sudden?
Okay.
well, I
I'd
think
so
I
do
think there's
that.
going to be different things that are a little bit more practical and less sci-fi that I think actually will be really good, and they come from a place of wanting to help people, you know. And it's like, you know, Elon Musk talks about how, like, a paraplegic person, if they have a severed, you know, nerve in their spine, like, the nerve is still there. Everything still works, but the brain has decided to stop sending the signal. Yeah. And so if a Neuralink, because what you can do is you can patch a Neuralink into your brain so that it activates what's in your brain, and then you put a secondary unit below that break in the spine, and then your body will connect those two basically through Wi-Fi, like through
You're not paralyzed
right,
anymore.
and then you're just not paralyzed anymore. Like, things like that are really crazy to me.
could
Bryce has
totally
his face on
happen.
it.
Like, I don't know. Like,
I'm still not down for
I mean,
it.
I'm not down for
Bruh.
it. But, like,
I'm not
just
saying I'm
seeing
lining
it,
up to get a chip either. Like, if a company
Yeah.
told me I needed to get a chip in my hand, even, like, I wouldn't do it. You
Yeah.
know, like, that's not something
Deuces.
that I'm really interested in doing.
Yeah.
But I do see the light and dark sides of it. You know,
Yeah.
Just like,
the
social media.
right, the
Yeah.
total dystopian world of, like, people people like being in this metaverse 24/7 and like living in that. I mean, movies have been made about it forever, right? But
Matrix.
the truth is, like, people would gravitate towards that in a lot of ways, especially if they could learn how to make money doing that, right? In the metaverse, which is a possibility with the blockchain and all that stuff, which is like where everything kind of ties together with NFTs and all that. But like, if people can learn how to make money in there and like stay in there for a long period of time and get nurses to come and take care of their body, like it's definitely a possibility that some people will do that, you know, and some people will die doing that, and some people will live the majority of their lives in this, right? And it's definitely a crazy thought to think that our world could actually be that in 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time we're landing on Mars.
So what's the
You
Christian
know?
perspective?
I think it's hard because I think the Christian perspective is have an open mind to everything.
Right.
I think the Christian perspective is walk in what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
And so
My-
yeah.
My perspective is, as a Christian, is I'm always open to everything, right? I'm always open for technology. I'm always open for learning more and stuff like that. But be smart
Yeah, absolutely.
and read your Bibles.
And be biblical. I would say
Right.
that's the
Right.
basis of everything that we try to do, right? It's like, what does the Bible say? And are we acting in a way that the Bible would condone,
Right.
right? Are we
'Cause,
acting
like,
in a way
as
that
you
God would
speak
condone?
about all this stuff, like, I can't help but think of Revelation, right?
Right.
Like, this is crazy. But at the same time, I'm sure they said that about maybe computers or
Absolutely.
iPads or
Yeah.
cell
Yeah.
phones, you
Yeah.
know.
The internet was a fad.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So obviously, I have technology. I have lots of technology. Like, our lights are all almost smart. Almost all of our
Right.
lights are smart. So, I'm open for it. But at the same time, I'm just careful. Like, I didn't want a smartwatch for a long time. I waited, right? I wanted to see, is this bad? You know. So.
Yeah, I'd say I'm a lot less cautious than Vanessa for sure.
I'm like,
But
who
I'm-
cares if people get our information?
But I'm
Well.
also informed though. Like, now that we have more social equity, I would say I'm a little bit more careful. Like, we don't talk about the city in which we live. We don't talk about our address, right? We don't talk at in depth about our personal lives, right? Because we have more to protect now.
Yeah.
Because a lot more people watch what we do, and so when that ever does come up, like, we'll go into the video and we'll take it out, you know, or like, you know, we'll do these different things, and it's not that like we really care that.
We've just seen a lot of people get stalked and
Yeah.
There's a lot of different
Evil
stuff that can
things.
happen,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's even a YouTube creator that had to leave YouTube for like 2 years because
Yeah.
there was someone that was stalking them and like got access to their house and like shut off their electricity and called their phones and threatened them every day, and it was like terrifying, right? Because just as like you guys are blowing up and growing, right? Like, there's that one couple I showed you guys earlier this week who literally went from 50,000 subscribers to like 300,000, 400,000. I think they're over 500,000 now, just in the last week, right? So gaining 450,000 subscribers in a week. Imagine what that does to you, right?
Yeah.
As a person.
Sounds
Not
like my insecurities just getting way further down. That's what it does to me.
and just like that kind of influence that you can have is amazing, but there's also a dark side to it, you know? And so I think we just have to be careful with all of it. Social media, it's not good or evil. It's just the way that you use it. The internet is not good or evil, but it can certainly have evil parts, and it can certainly have really good parts,
It's like
right?
money is immoral.
Right. Exactly. The root of all evil is the love of money, not necessarily the money itself, right? It's how you treat that object. It's how you treat that thing and how you use it. So anyway, going on in the future for social media for us, and I know for you guys, like, we just want to follow what God wants us to do. Yeah. And so biblically, we try to look at everything that we do. Are we speaking truth? Are we doing the things that God has asked us to do? Are we running this ministry in the way that he's asked us to do? Because that is my forefront, like the biggest thing that I want to do overall. Yeah? And I know you guys are the same. Yeah. So as you guys grow over 1,000 followers on TikTok now, crazy. We just hit 11,000 on YouTube, and I can't wait for your journey to start back up on YouTube and to see where that goes. And obviously we'll be walking with you along that side. But yeah, anyway, man, the future's crazy. There's a lot of stuff in tech and in social media that the youth are going to have to deal with. I think that's going to be really terrifying. But after all of it, I think, you know, you still have hope, and you still know that God is in control no matter what. So, yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for another podcast. Anyway, we'll see you guys on the next one. I hope you like this video. Keep living the snipe life. And we'll see you later. Peace.